Dead Man's Diary is developed and published by TML Studios. The studio is mostly known for their simulation games, and Dead Man's Diary is their first title in the horror survival genre. The game offers many different zones for the players to explore, and if you plan on finishing the game, it can take you up to 50 hours. While the visuals and the atmosphere of the game create an interesting experience, vain exploration, mediocre survival mechanics, and a vague story don't necessarily add up to 50 hours of fun and engaging gameplay. The game's main plot is inspired by the Fallout universe. Nuclear bombs fell, a few made it to shelters and survived, and now after 15 years, because of a shortage in supplies, a few individuals are thrown out of the shelters. The protagonist is among them, forced to explore the wasteland and try to survive on his own. In the beginning, the protagonist is out in a dark forest, trying to find a place to rest and find food and water to survive.
Fuck! What was that? My heart's beating out of my chest. I don't see anything.
In the first few minutes, Dead Man's Diary tries to establish itself as a horror game, but it fails. The protagonist hears strange noises from his surrounding, and while this can be stressful and gives us a few jump scares here and there, every time that this happens, we lose control of the character. He turns towards the voice and says a sarcastic line about how scary they are. This immediately extinguishes any sense of immersion, which is crucial to feeling fear and stress in a horror video game. When in the scariest moments of the game, the player has no agency in what the character does and says, we can't really put ourselves in place of the protagonist and relate to what he is feeling. Horror is not the game's best feature, but maybe survival is. So I continue. I reach an industrial area and I start to find food and water. But I can't use them because they might be radiated and I need a Geiger counter to make sure. I also can't open locked containers. I do have some lockpicks, but in order to open them I also need a screwdriver, another essential item that I still haven't found. My first hour in the game is spent searching through the area for a Geiger counter and a screwdriver, and I can't find them. The character eventually dies of thirst and hunger, and I have no choice but to restart the game and search more carefully. For many players, this would be the moment they quit and probably refund the game. The two essential items that are required for even playing the game are the hardest items to find. There are no directions or UI elements pointing to them. You just have to search the whole place inch by inch until you get lucky and find what you're looking for. And this doesn't get any better as we go on. Progression through Dead Man's Diary is not about being creative, solving difficult puzzles, or any sort of interesting combat or gameplay mechanics. Progress and survival is just about searching every corner of the world and hoping that you can find what you're looking for in time. There are many puzzles in the game, but most of the time the answer to these puzzles is just to search until you find a note hidden somewhere that has the answer written on it. The gameplay quickly becomes frustrating, and solving a puzzle and progressing through a level doesn't reward the player with a sense of satisfaction or overcoming a challenge. Instead, we feel relieved that we are done with that level. This isn't the feeling that a game should aim for, but it's what we get in Dead Man's Diary. The main plot of the game is simple. The protagonist is thrown out into a deadly nuclear wasteland and he has to look for a safe place to stay. The best part of the story in Dead Man's Diary is the environmental storytelling and stories told through notes left by those who didn't make it to a bunker 15 years ago. Similar to what Fallout games do, these types of storytelling rewards exploration. It just doesn't hold on its own to make exploration really enjoyable. But the worst part of the story is the main character himself. You might have noticed that I kept referring to him as the protagonist and not as I or we. And that's because I couldn't relate to the character. He has an obnoxious and sarcastic personality, and while some might find this kind of character fun, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Whenever you create a distinct and voiced character in a first-person game, especially a role-playing or a horror game, you run the risk that a portion of players won't relate to the character. When Fallout 4 came out, one of the main complaints about the game was that the protagonists were voiced. The voice acting was fantastic, as it is in Dead Man's Diary, but that's not the point. We like to feel like we are the ones exploring the world, and if we can't relate to the characters, we won't enjoy the game as much.
An old truck. And what a shape. Wow, the designer probably designs closet walls. To rattle through the forest in such a box can possibly lead to an image loss. But mine's fucked anyway.
The only moment that I felt close to the character was when he would come upon a locked door and he would get really frustrated about it and how finding a key is a pain. I shared the same frustrations.
Who came up with the glorious idea of installing fences with a code lock down here? That's what happens when people have nothing better to do.
There are also a couple of moments that the protagonists have some questionable comments about the world that might be considered a little bit racist. You be the judge of that.
That was probably a bit of cocky thinking on my part. It doesn't look like a well-tended civilization, but like the Bangladesh of Robin Hood the Outlaw. What the hell is this place? I'm just wondering what kind of neighborhood this is. It looks strange. If I didn't know better, I would think I was traveling in the Middle East.
I played for 45 hours and finished the game, hoping to find some redeeming quality about it. Maybe an interesting plot twist, some innovative and challenging puzzles, or just something. In the last few hours, I did find the only fun combat section of the game. We find a shotgun and we are in a building filled with zombies. You know what happens next. Shooting zombies with a shotgun with high tempo music in the background is always fun. The final credit scene almost had me. Maybe the 45 hours I put into the game was worth it just to see the absurdity that is this group dance. But in the end, I don't recommend Dead Man's Diary. The game looks good, the sound effects and the music are okay, and there are a few fun and memorable moments in the game. But unfortunately, it fails in many other aspects that you expect from a horror survival game, and it's just not worth the time commitment that it requires. Thanks for watching. Dead Man's Diary is available on Steam from March 30th. I reviewed the game on PC with a code provided by the publisher. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and let us know what you think about the game in the comments below.